Okay, jump in. Welcome to the deep dive.
Hey there.
Today, we are really plunging into the currents shaping the AI world right now. We've got this pile of sources, financial news, market stuff, some political updates,
hmm
and our mission is basically to pull out the essential nuggets for you, the things you really need to understand.
That's right. We're looking at kind of two big fronts here. First, the actual physical infrastructure that's, powering this AI explosion.
Plumbing.
Exactly. And then the really critical, sometimes contentious debate about how this tech should actually be governed as it keeps growing so fast.
Yeah, perfectly put. So we'll unpack this pretty incredible story of a cloud company seeing just massive growth.
CoreWeave,
Yep. And then the hardware giant that's literally building the machines.
Dell.
Dell, yeah. And then there's this trending online chat connected the tech to the, real world discussion.
Hashtag AI infrastructure.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And finally, a really controversial proposal that could seriously shake up AI regulation across the U.S.
Big topic.
It is. Think of it as understanding both the engine room and the rule book for this AI rocket ship we're all on. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So first up, like we mentioned, there's this name buzzing right now in infrastructure, CoreWeave. You might not know them yet, but maybe you should.
Yeah, CoreWeave, they're a cloud infrastructure company, but they are like super focused, laser focused, really.
Okay.
Their whole specialty is providing that really high performance computing power, the kind that demanding AI tasks really need.
Like training those huge language models.
Exactly, like training the big models everyone's talking about. It takes serious horsepower.
And it's worth noting, one source really highlights this, their relationship with Nvidia. It's incredibly tight.
Oh, yeah.
Nvidia actually holds a pretty significant stake in CoreWeave, 78%, according to this report.
78%. Wow. Yeah, that's not just a partnership. That's like deep integration.
Right.
And you can really see the impact of that connection and their specialized focus. I mean, just look at their recent performance. The sources point to a truly staggering 30% surge in their stock.
Just in the last 5 days.
Just the last 5 days.
30% in 5 days. I mean, that kind of jump just screams intense demand, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And look at their financial outlook. Their projections for 2025 revenue.
Okay.
Up to $5.1 billion.
Whoa. 5.1 billion. How does that compare?
Well, when you look at the previous year, it represents a just colossal 363% increase.
363%.
Yeah. The source used a great analogy for this, saying it's like a small shop suddenly rivaling a retail giant.
Huh. That really gives you a sense of the scale of the acceleration here.
It really does, and it drives home what CoreWeave's tech actually enables. It's not just about, renting out servers.
Right.
It's providing the specialized power that helps companies train these complex AI models or run simulations way, way faster than they could on, like, general cloud stuff.
So it's about speed and specialization for AI tasks.
Exactly, and analysts are definitely picking up on this. Some are calling CoreWeave a dark horse in the whole AI race.
A dark horse, interesting. Why?
Precisely because they're providing this foundational layer that, well, everyone else needs. It's like a classic pick and shovel play in the AI gold rush,
Right, right. Selling the tools to the miner. Okay, so what does CoreWeave surge really tell us then about the bigger picture, the AI landscape right now?
I think it's maybe the clearest signal we have at the moment of the sheer urgent demand for specialized computing infrastructure that's built for AI.
Okay.
It shows that even, focused, maybe smaller players, especially if they're tightly linked to giants like Nvidia, can just capitalize massively on this need.
It's not just the giants getting bigger.
No, not entirely. And their success, CoreWeave's success, it isn't just about their company. It points to this huge wave of investment and expansion happening kind of behind the scenes, specifically in AI computing capacity. And that's what's enabling innovation across so many industries.
Got it. Okay, so that's the specialized cloud side, the power delivery, basically.
Yeah.
Now, let's pivot slightly. Let's talk about the heavy metal side of things.
Hardware.
The actual machines, the hardware backbone.
Yeah.
We're talking about Dell.
Right. Dell's another company where the stock is definitely seeing significant movement, especially right now.
Why right now?
Well, their earnings report is actually due out today, May 29th. So the market is really waiting to see just how much of this AI infrastructure demand they're actually capturing.
Okay, makes sense. And based on their recent performance, it seems like they're capturing quite a bit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Their sales of specifically AI-optimized servers, They hit $2.1 billion last quarter.
2.1 billion. Where was that a year ago?
A year ago was around $800 million.
Wow. So a huge jump there, too.
A dramatic jump. And maybe even more telling is their AI backlog. The orders they have waiting to be filled.
Right.
That currently stands at a just staggering $4.1 billion.
$4.1 billion backlog just for AI servers.
Just for AI-optimized servers?
Yeah.
That number alone is just huge.
It really is. The source captures Dell's role really well with this analogy they used.
Yeah.
Describing them as like building the engine rooms for AI's rocket ships.
That's a good one. Yeah. They're providing the essential physical plant, the hardware guts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And investor optimism is clearly reflecting these numbers, isn't it?
For sure. Dell's stock is up something like 50% since April.
50%.
Yeah, largely driven by these expectations for, continued AI-related growth. Everyone's betting on it.
And Dell seems pretty confident too, right? They boosted their dividend.
They did, by 18% for 2025, which is, a tangible sign. It shows they expect this growth train to keep rolling. And analysts are suggesting, if they report strong earnings today, that could add even more fuel to the fire. Could push the stock even higher in the second half of the year.
Interesting.
What Dell's performance really underscores, I think, is that all the fancy AI models and software, they ultimately rely on physical hardware, on data centers packed with powerful, specialized machines. Can't forget that part.
Which actually brings us really neatly to something we've seen trending online. It connects these, big business stories, CoreWeave and Dell, to the broader conversation happening out there.
Ah, right. You've probably seen it if you're on X, formerly Twitter, hashtag AI infrastructure. It's trending.
Yeah. It's kind of fascinating, isn't it, to see a topic that feels pretty technical bubble up like that.
It really is. People online are actively discussing the very things we've just been talking about, the foundational elements of AI.
It's not just the latest chatbot or image generator.
Exactly. It's about the data centers, the chips, the servers, the kind of nuts and bolts that make it all actually work.
There was a user quote highlighted in the source that really nailed it, I thought.
Well, yeah. What was it?
Something like, AI isn't just models. It's the infrastructure powering them. CoreWeave and Dell are the unsung heroes.
Unsung heroes. I like that. That's key, right? People are starting to recognize that the spotlight's been on the AI models themselves. But the real heavy lifting, a lot of it, is happening beneath the surface, in the infrastructure layer.
And that online conversation, it captures a mix of feelings, doesn't it? Like there's excitement about the potential this infrastructure unlocks.
Definitely.
But also a kind of healthy dose of caution. People noting the huge costs involved in building and scaling all this tech.
Absolutely. It is incredibly expensive to build those rocket ship engine rooms, as the analogy went.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So why does this hashtag trending actually matter? What's the takeaway?
Well, I think it serves as a really important public reminder, a reminder that the incredible capabilities of today's AI, they aren't magic, right?
Right.
They are entirely dependent on these massive, often unseen layers of physical and digital infrastructure. It just pulls the conversation back to the tangible foundation that's driving this whole revolution.
Okay, so we've explored this surging infrastructure side, the tech, the business, the public buzz. Now, let's shift gears pretty significantly, but it's directly related, I think. As AI grows this fast, fueled by all this infrastructure we've discussed, the question of how to manage it, how to regulate it, becomes absolutely critical.
Yeah, inevitable.
And there's a major debate brewing right now over a proposed bill.
Yes, this is a new proposal. The sources mention it as a Republican-led bill, described as part of what's being called Trump's Big Beautiful Bill.
Okay.
And it's sparking some serious controversy because of its core idea, its main provision,
Which is?
a proposal for a 10-year ban on state-level AI regulations.
Whoa. A 10-year ban on states making their own AI rules. That seems dramatic, especially given the context.
It is dramatic. And the sources point out, over 30 states already have some kind of AI oversight laws on the books. Places like Utah, Maryland.
Right, they're already acting.
They're already acting, and more bills are apparently pending for 2025. So this isn't just about preventing future state action. It would actually override existing frameworks that are already in place.
So what's the stated intention behind the bill then, as presented in the sources?
Well, the stated intention is to centralize control, to bring AI regulations solely under the federal umbrella.
Okay, so the argument would be what? Uniformity, faster policy making maybe,
Yeah.
less fragmentation.
All right, presumably something along those lines. That's the stated aim. However, the sources also detail uh, significant criticism of the bill.
For whom?
Critics argue it would actively stifle those state-level efforts to manage AI risks, efforts that are often, tailored to local needs or specific state concerns.
And the worry is that that could let AI harms go unchecked.
That's the critique, yeah. That it could potentially allow certain AI harms to go unaddressed at the state level for a full decade.
Can you give an example from the source
Yeah.
of the kind of harms state laws might be trying to address?
Yeah, the source specifically mentioned algorithms being used unfairly, for instance, unfairly denying loans.
Ah, okay.
That's a potential AI harm that state-level regulations might be designed to prevent or at least mitigate, a very real-world kind of impact.
That makes it very concrete. And the source used another pretty powerful analogy here, too, didn't
It did. It described the situation like telling cities they can't set their own speed limits on a highway.
Huh. Yeah, that highlights that tension, right, between centralized authority and local control over something that could directly impact citizens.
Exactly. And this proposal has definitely generated significant pushback already.
Oh, it has.
Yeah, the sources note that advocacy groups are opposing it pretty strongly. And reportedly, even some Republican lawmakers are hesitant or maybe even against the bill as it's currently proposed.
So it's not necessarily a done deal even within the party proposing it.
Doesn't sound like it, based on these reports.
This feels like a really pivotal moment, then, in the whole governance discussion around AI. What's the biggest takeaway for you from this proposed bill and the reaction to it?
I think it fundamentally illustrates this core tension we see in regulating fast-moving tech like AI, especially in the U.S. On one side, you've got this push for centralized federal control, maybe seeking a unified national approach, maybe aiming for speed.
Right.
On the other side, you have the strong argument for state-level flexibility, allowing different jurisdictions to react to specific local concerns or potential harms as they see them emerge.
And this bill would tip that balance dramatically.
For a decade, yeah. It has the potential to really reshape that balance, raising these huge questions about who is actually best positioned to identify and address AI's risks while still, trying not to stifle innovation completely.
It's a tough balancing act.
A very tough one.
So looking back at everything we've sort of unpacked today, you've got the explosive growth of specialized infrastructure like CoreWeave, the absolutely essential hardware role being played by companies like Dell,
Right.
the public conversation finally acknowledging how important these foundational layers are with things like that hashtag.
Yep.
And now this critical, very fraught debate about centralizing regulatory power versus state control. It's clear these aren't just separate news items floating around, are they?
No, not at all. They are deeply interconnected forces, really. The incredible speed at which the infrastructure is being built and deployed. That's what's enabling AI capabilities to expand faster than ever before.
Right. The tech enables the speed.
Exactly. And that rapid expansion then puts immense pressure on our existing governance structures. It forces these really difficult questions about who regulates and how and at what level federal state.
It really does leave you with a compelling question to chew on as you go about your day.
Yeah.
As AI continues this rapid advance driven by this incredibly powerful, growing infrastructure that we've talked about and facing these complex, really debated regulatory questions, who ultimately holds the responsibility for ensuring this technology actually benefits society?
That's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
Hmm.
And maybe just as importantly, how should that immense responsibility be balanced between, the push for rapid innovation and the need for thoughtful, effective governance?
Finding that balance, yeah, that's the challenge ahead.